Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is Brendan Plays. It's great to have you back again for another edition of the show in what will probably be our final show of the year. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it goes. I'll be going away for Christmas and New Year's, so we probably won't have a show, unfortunately. But unless maybe I might be able to get an early show in on Wednesday and upload it on Thursday, potentially, and that will be on the 27th, so we'll have to see. But final show of the year, and it's been another great year of the podcast. We are celebrating our 5th anniversary of Brendan Plays in the new year. 1st of January is when we started the channel back in 2013, so that's something to look forward to soon. But overall, been a pretty good year. I've certainly enjoyed doing YouTube a lot this year. It's been a lot of fun, and wrestling as a whole has been interesting. It's not been terrible. I think it's probably improved a little bit. I think the brand split's still going okay. I think WWE still has a lot of work to do, but it's okay at times. Sometimes not so much, but previous years we've had a lot of injuries, a lot of storylines been all over the place, a lot of new guys not really getting anywhere, but there's a few new guys coming through that I'm really looking forward to. Braun Strowman's had a great year. Really think Elias could be the breakout superstar of 2018. Miz had another good year again as more of a veteran guy now. Jericho had a great start to the year, finished off nicely. Looking forward to what he's doing in Japan. Nakamura had a good year. Could have been a lot better. AJ Styles was great. So there's a few different things that I really enjoyed this year in terms of wrestling, but we're not doing really a recap of the year type of show today, but I just thought I'd kind of talk about it a little bit because it is our final show, most likely. If we do one next week, maybe we'll do a full recap, but I'm really bad at recaps because I forget what's going on. If you ask me what was the match, what main evented the pay-per-view in February, I would have no idea. So stuff like that, I just forget. I probably couldn't even tell you what main evented No Mercy. So, yeah. But yeah, so I will be going away over the Christmas period, which means my other videos will be a little bit slack as well. I've got a few ready to go. I've got maybe 5 videos over probably a 10-day period that I'll be away or something like that. So probably the 3 days over Christmas, like New Year, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then Boxing Day, I probably won't upload anything on those 3 days. Then after that, maybe we'll see. We might start uploading a few more. I didn't get a lot of Universe Mode done. I might just have the 2 episodes of Universe Mode done, which is a little disappointing. I probably would have liked to have gotten maybe 3 or 4 done, but I did get a couple of TWs done. I even got a Supercard video done, so that'll be coming out tomorrow, that Supercard video. So that one will be fun, so keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, so I tried my best to get as many as I could done, but obviously trying to do 2 weeks worth of videos in a couple of days is very tough, and something that I really don't do very often. I think we might have talked about it on the podcast not long ago about doing videos in advance. Well, something that I really struggled to do, so I had to try and step up my game this week. But I got a few done, so there will be a little bit of time where you don't see too much from me. I do apologize for that. But we will be back very strong in the new year. And what could be the last year of Brendan Plays? I don't know. 2018. I probably have said that 2K18 could be my final game. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think not. I like to think that I can juggle a full-time job and do YouTube at the same time. That's probably my goal. I'd like to think that I can do that. It's not going to be easy, but if I get a little bit more organized, I certainly could make it work. So that's obviously the plan, something I'd like to try and attempt to do. But we'll find out in the coming months if that can be done. It's not going to be easy. But so we're looking to at least start off 2018 strong. Around about this period of time, I'm always going away a little bit. I'm going back and forth between places, so it's always a bit of a bad time for me. But this year, I mean, this period might be a little bit better. I haven't got any trips that I'm planning on doing other than around about the Christmas time and New Year's. So other than that, I should be available to upload, which is something that if you look back at the history of January in Brendan Plays, it's never good. January is always a bad month. Hopefully we can rectify that this year. Today on the show, though, plenty to chat about in terms of wrestling, Clash of Champions. Not going to talk a lot about Clash of Champions because it feels like it was forever ago. I feel like I've already forgotten about it or tried to forget about it. And to be honest, it was a pay-per-view that I didn't have a lot of interest in. I was more interested in watching the cricket, the Ashes, than Clash of Champions. So the only real reason why I did watch Clash of Champions because it was raining on the cricket. So I had to watch it just in the meantime. But, we will chat about it and touch on a few different things. Obviously going to talk about the Women's Royal Rumble announcement. That's a big announcement this week. And we'll go into depth and more detail and how I think this match is going to work, my predictions on it. So that will be a large segment of the show. Dean Ambrose's injury, we'll chat about that as well. And obviously recap Raw and SmackDown and answer some of your questions as well. So what should be a fun show, as always. And unfortunately, we haven't been gaming, so we haven't really got much of a gaming segment to chat about. I haven't earned a trophy on the PlayStation for like 2 weeks, which is really rare for me. Normally, I'm earning them every day. And as you guys know, I'm a big trophy hunter. So I've been really slack. I don't know. I've just been playing games that I can't get trophies on, like Fortnite and Ashes Cricket. So been playing those types of games. Been playing a lot of WWE Supercard as well on the phone. Been enjoying that. So we've just been playing games I don't really get achievements on, and yeah, so it's been a bit of a lazy time. Hopefully over Christmas I can dive in and maybe play some Wolfenstein or something like that. I've got a lot of the new games I'd like to check out. I did get Mario Odyssey as well, so that was a bit of an early Christmas gift for myself. So that's something that I'll be definitely playing over the new year. I'm looking forward to that. I got to play probably an hour or two of it, and it's really, really fun. So can't wait to check that one out as well. So Mario Odyssey, obviously one of the best games of the year apparently, so that'd be great. And I guess we could probably talk about what my game of the year was. I mean, I didn't play a lot of them, like I said. I think I've talked about this. It's so difficult to say what is my favorite game of this year. But maybe we'll chat about that one later on, or maybe next week. Or maybe in the New Year's podcast. But sometime soon I'd like to sit down and think about what, to me, was my favorite game of the year out of all the games that I've played. But let's move on. Let's get into the wrestling chat this week. We'll start things off quickly with Clash of Champions, and we'll get into the Women's Rumble. So Clash of Champions main evented by AJ Styles and Jinder Mahal. Thank God AJ won. Thank God AJ is still champion, and Jinder Mahal lost. The match itself, I thought Jinder tried really hard. I'd probably say Jinder put in a really solid effort. But Jinder just isn't up to scratch as a main event guy in 2017. Maybe 2005 he could get away with what he's doing. In 2017, though, it's certainly the quality of the standards a lot higher. So Jinder just can't seem to really get the job done. Jinder, though, just doesn't look good. Obviously, the pictures going around online about, his body, allegedly kind of using the steroid, has that steroid look about him. The back knee is a clear sign to steroid use. Now, this is just guessing. He has been cleared of any wrongdoing, so I don't know what's causing this for him. But then the biggest thing was his nipple, that whole picture going around online, that really bulging out. I don't know the exact terminology for it, but if you haven't seen it, check it out online. It just didn't look right. I don't know. I thought his chest as well. I feel like his body at the moment just doesn't seem to be looking as good as it once was. Just thought his chest wasn't filled out as normal. I don't know. It's like just seems like maybe he was having an off night. Maybe just his body was just looking bad for a period of time, but just didn't look right. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know what's the deal with that, but it certainly isn't a good look for Jinder, and it's certainly some questions will have to be answered about him right now in regards to his health and whether he's passing tests and things like that. I'm sure we'll hear more about it in the future. But like I said, he had a good performance. I thought he tried really hard. The match was okay, nothing special. I certainly won't be going back to watch it anytime soon. But it was what it was, and AJ Styles got the victory. I actually thought this match wouldn't main event, considering all the hype and build towards the tag match, but surprisingly, they did do the main event, which in reality, if you're going to do a Clash of Champions pay-per-view and the championship match does not main event, that makes literally no sense at all. So it would kind of be stupid for it not to main event. But like I said, it was okay. Nothing special at all. But I guess the question is now, is this the end of Jinder Mahal's push? It certainly seems like it. Seems like this is the end of his major push around the world title. He's now lost it. He's not getting it back, and he's probably going to fall out of contention losing a little bit more lately. I think the experiment is now officially over. I mean, the experiment started after WrestleMania, didn't it? Or thereabouts. So, it's been a long time. About 8 months we've had to deal with Jinder Mahal on top. And I can't say I would give Jinder Mahal a pass mark. I think he's done well for what he's been given and what his skill set is and his ability. And the fact that he went from being a job guy, that's because, that's what he was. He was a job guy. He was a jobber. To essentially being main eventer, world champion overnight. It was very quick. Very, very quick. And that's something that you learn over time. That's why we have mid-card championships. That's why you have guys start from the bottom and work their way to the top, because they learn, they get better, they get more skilled, they learn how to get over, all these different things. You get a mid-card championship because then you learn how to be a champion that's not on, the grand level. You don't have as many eyes on you or people critiquing you as much. You can, make a few mistakes, but you can get away with it, that type of thing. You can't get away with much as the world champion. And I think Jinder Mahal found that out the hard way. Look, it was a bold move from WWE, and look, I applaud them for giving someone a try, someone different, and saying, hey, we're going to go with you, we're going to give you the big push, and we're going to try and make it work. I applaud them for trying that. I just wish they would do that with somebody else, someone else who I think could do and, be at that level. Maybe a Kevin Owens, but I guess we did see Kevin Owens as champion for a long time. And someone, just someone who I think could carry that. I mean, Nakamura, I'm not sure if he would be able to come across good with his English and things like that, but he's getting really good reactions at the moment. And I think you've got to be looking at pulling the trigger on Nakamura soon as champion. So, someone like him could definitely do the SmackDown brand. I definitely think, still, when the draft comes along, Finn Balor's really got to change to SmackDown. He's doing nothing on Raw right now. Could definitely benefit from a move to SmackDown, things like that. But the problem with SmackDown is they're still lacking a top-level heel. I still think Bobby Roode should have came in as a heel. Now you take away Jinder. I mean, who else really is there? You got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. Yes, but you take away those guys, there's not a lot. Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin. Yeah, so that's kind of where it ends. They're kind of lacking top guys in the heel side of things, whereas they've got, you got Orton, you got AJ, you got Nakamura, you got Bobby Roode, so even John Cena when he feels like it. So you've got a little bit more there on the babyface side of things, and even Shane O'Mac gets in there every now and then as well. So you got that as an occasional guy. So you just got a lot more on the babyface side of things. And look, those guys are very popular. And Bobby Roode, for example, he's number 4. You've got 3 guys well ahead of him, and Bobby Roode is like that number 4 guy, whereas he could probably slot to maybe number 2 if he went to heel, which is kind of disappointing for Bobby. And I certainly think his reactions are dying down. His push just isn't going as good. Not winning the US title didn't help. And I guess that's a transition, a segue into that. Dolph Ziggler winning the US title. Very interesting. I was not expecting it at all. I don't think many people were. I thought we all probably thought Baron Corbin might retain with a chance that Bobby Roode might get it. But they gave it to Ziggler. I don't know why. Is it Dolph Ziggler's yearly 1-month push? Is it time for that? Where Ziggler gets, a little bit, gets a bit of hope. We get a bit of a glimmer of hope that Ziggler might go somewhere for about a month and then it gets taken away from us. Is it time for that? Maybe. I don't know, man. It's a difficult one to really say. I mean, Dolph Ziggler came out on SmackDown, put the championship down, cut a promo about how nobody kind of believed in him, even though he's done so much. Kind of teasing that could be the end of him, which I think is not a bad story to try and tell. Play off the fact that there has been rumors for a while that potentially he could be leaving. He may want to leave, things like that. So it's not a bad idea to try and play off that. Now, I don't think he's vacated the championship. I still think he'll be champion. But, it's going to make some intrigue, which is good. I like that. I like that I don't know what's going to be happening there. And it gives a chance for a few guys to maybe fight over the championship, and Dolph might return later on. I don't know how they're going to reintroduce him. I don't know where the storyline's going, but it has my intrigue. I'll be interested to see what they do with it. But like I said, just surprised that Dolph won. I mean, he was kind of thrown into the match. Nobody really thought he even belonged in the match. Just kind of thrown in there to take the pin. But then he goes ahead and wins the championship. Is it done just to do it as a shock factor? No one predicted it. Bit of a swerve, something different. maybe, but it was just quite odd. I don't know. For the tag team match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, Randy Orton and Nakamura, I felt the referees just really overshadowed the match. The match itself, you couldn't really get into it because it was just all about the referees. So, which was good. The interaction with the referees was good, but you kind of knew somehow Sami Zayn and Kevin were going to survive, or they'll be brought back anyways. But, the finish was good. Daniel Bryan with a quick count. I like that. They followed it up on SmackDown with the confrontation between the two. So they kind of apologized a little bit, but still, some dissension there. And Shane said, look, maybe I'll have to get rid of you. Or, Daniel Bryan said you can fire me. Things like that. So there's certainly dissension between the two. I've heard a lot of people say that, Daniel Bryan turning heel. It's really the opposite way. Shane McMahon's kind of drunk with power. He's got this personal vendetta out against Zayn and Owens, that he's kind of the bad guy, whereas Daniel Bryan's standing up and being the fair GM. So it's kind of, a bit of a grey area for both guys. But, I don't think it's any heel turn or face turns coming. I just think it's two GMs who have a disagreement about a couple guys. And it's making for, I think, pretty interesting TV for SmackDown. It's been the main component of the show for a while now, and it's been good. It's been successful, I think. And finally, just to wrap up Clash of Champions, I thought the Fatal 4-Way Tag match was good. We'll talk more of that in a little bit. The Lumberjack match for the women, I think it's probably official that Lumberjack matches are terrible. And when it comes to a championship match on a pay-per-view, I don't think we should ever do them again. Again, just like the tag match, the Lumberjacks overshadowed the match. It was all about the Lumberjacks, not what was going on in the ring, which should never be the case for a championship match on a pay-per-view. So, a big mistake there. We've seen Charlotte and Natalya 1,000 times. It's time to really move away from that. I'm guessing Charlotte and Ruby Riott will probably be the next thing anyway. So, not a bad idea, but so we'll have to see it. And of course, I guess it depends probably on the Women's Royal Rumble, which is now a segue, I guess, into our next topic, probably the main topic of today's show. The Women's Royal Rumble match, officially announced by Stephanie McMahon. She had to be the one to do it, which is okay. I don't have a problem with that. She's kind of like the voice of the women. She has been for a while. That's fine. As long as she keeps announcing the major women things, that's good. The thing I hated, which I think most people agree with me on, why in the hell are these women fighting each other? And then all of a sudden Stephanie comes out. They completely stop. And then she announces the Women's Royal Rumble. And then they celebrate together like nothing happened. That was probably the dumbest thing I've seen on WWE TV probably all year. I mean, that could be a stretch. There's been some stupid stuff, but at least in my recent memory, that was so bad. I mean, just have Absolution step outside the ring and then have the rest of the women celebrate. Easy done, solved. Or, after it, she announces, hey, we're going to have a Women's Royal Rumble. Well, why not Absolution throw a couple of the women in the ring over the top rope and say, hey, Royal Rumble, you'd be gone right now. And tease that a little bit. Tease the Rumble match a little bit and go with it. You've announced it. Well, why not show us a little bit of what we can expect, a bit of a preview, and have the women throwing each other over the top rope and maybe Nia Jax stands tall or something like that. And, of course, Stephanie in the ring, she's going to have to quickly get out of the ring, but I'm sure she could manage that fine. And, that's a better way to close out the show than everyone going, yes, 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 yay, we're all happy, hold hands and celebrate, sing and dance together. I mean, that was ridiculous, stupid. But I feel like, if you had have just done, hey, Absolution trying to throw a few people over the top rope, but hey, maybe Absolution gets thrown over the top rope instead. And then the rest of the women start, celebrating or, look around at each other and just kind of, eye off the competition a bit. Because at the moment, the Royal Rumble's like, we're doing it because equality. We're doing it for the women's revolution. We're just doing it for that. It's not about we're doing it because we need to find out who's going to main event WrestleMania or who's going to get the championship match at WrestleMania. That's why you should be doing it. They say, hey, we've seen it work so well for the men. We're going to do a Women's Royal Rumble because we've got so many terrific women and we want to find out who's the best and who deserves the title shot. Not, hey, we're doing it, for equality. We've women empowerment, things like that. Like, yeah, sure, but make it about the title. Make it about what the match actually means and represents and what's its purpose. Not about, hey, we're doing it because we want to just be just like the men. We want to prove that, hey, we can have a Royal Rumble match too. But it's just my thoughts. In terms of the Rumble, how's it going to work? How many women are going to be involved in it? I read somewhere, and this could be very wrong, that there was 21 active women on the roster. Now, with obviously a lot of the new women in. That could be wrong, and I don't know if that includes the Bellas, for example, or any other injured people. I don't know. Is there anyone injured at the moment? Maybe not. That's what I read. So that number could be wrong. It could be more 18 or 19, something like that. Probably less rather than more. So, based off that number, you'd think probably 20 might be where they go. 25 might be too much of a stretch. If they have 21 active, that would require 4 surprises. Whether that be 2 legends, 2 NXT people, or whatever combination. 4 surprises seems like overkill. I'm not against it, but it seems like a lot. If you put them in, different segments of the match, it could work. For example, the Iconic Duo, they come out one after another, and they start to, dominate the Rumble for a little bit. That, for example, could be fine. And then you could have a legend woman, and then maybe Ronda Rousey if you wanted to, or whatever. But, I just don't know. I mean, if there's 21 active women, or let's say there's 20 active women, you'd probably think 20 is the way to go. That way the match will probably be, 45 minutes? 35 minutes? Something like that. So it's not ridiculously long, and that way people like Dana Brooke, Alicia Fox, some of the women we just don't care about, really. We don't have to really go through them. We can just keep it at the high quality. And, of course, that the 2 champions will be taken out of it as well, I should say. So, I don't know. I think 20 would probably be the right number. It's definitely not going to be 30. Surely not. I mean, there's too many women to try and get in there. And, obviously, that would mean 2 out of the 4 hours of the Royal Rumble would be just strictly the Royal Rumble matches, which I feel like is a little bit too long. Maybe an hour and 45, hour and 40, you can get away with that, but 2 hours seems like a lot. Half the show is the Royal Rumble, which, normally you'd say, yeah, woohoo, and it used to be that way anyways, but 2 different Rumbles this time, so it's hard to say. But I guess I'm going to say 20 women. I'll say that's the number, with 3 surprises. 3 surprises. So 17 women in there, and I'll have 3 surprises. I'll have 1 legend, 1 returning Nikki Bella, because it's probably going to be more than likely Nikki Bella. I can't see Brie doing it. So Nikki Bella, I'm sure she'll want to be involved, so she'll come in for a little bit. 1 returning Nikki Bella, 1 returning legend. I saw Michelle McCool put her hand up a little bit, say, hey, that sounds fun, whatever, on Twitter, so she could be an option. I know a lot of people would like to see Lita or Trish Stratus get in there, which I'm sure they probably could do. I don't know about Trish, though. What's her status? I know she had a child. I'm not sure how. That might have been a year ago now. I don't know. So it's been some time. I'm not sure. But, so there are options there. Obviously, you can bring in other different women we haven't seen in a while, like a Kelly or freaking Eve Torres or Beth Phoenix or someone like that. You could bring in a host of different women, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll bulk it up and have lots of returnees. Maybe they won't. But I guess you don't want to go overboard. If you're going to have this be a regular thing, you don't want to give away all your surprises in the one match. So I'm going to say 1 returning woman. I don't know who it'll be. 1 returning legend, a returning Nikki Bella, and probably 1 NXT call-up. Now, the options obviously are probably Ronda Rousey. Have Ronda Rousey come in. If she's in the match, she's going to win it. Absolutely. And we talked about this before. Probably Ronda Rousey wins it, goes on and takes on Charlotte at WrestleMania. Charlotte would match up the best. Alexa Bliss would not. Charlotte would match up the best with Ronda Rousey and have probably the best match. Be the right person to carry it to a good match. So that's one way to do it. The other one could be definitely Shayna Baszler. Is that how you say it? Baszler? I forget. I don't really know anything about it. But so Shayna could be an option as well. I know they're really high on her right now. She could be a surprise option. Don't think that would be well received because I just think she doesn't really have that name value. Another person I would mind seeing from NXT would be the women's champion. Now, I believe the women's champion is Ember Moon still. So I think a great way to do it would be have Ember Moon come in. And you'd have the NXT Women's Champion come in, bit of credibility behind her, surprise, and, say, hey, everyone's trying to get in this match, and you kind of put over how big it is that, and the champion gets an opportunity. And I don't know, I think that would be cool. If you had to pick someone from NXT, I think the champion, Ember Moon, would be the right option. And she doesn't have to stay around. It can be a one-night only thing. It doesn't have to be an official debut. We've seen that plenty of times, where guys come in for the Rumble and that's it, and that's fine. Absolutely fine. I think Ty Dillinger did it maybe last year or the year before or whatever, and Rusev did it, a few years ago as well. So it happens all the time, which is okay. So, yeah, and I think Ember Moon would be, like I said, a good choice there if they wanted to have someone with some credibility from NXT. She's already got the championship, and immediately you get her in there. People can respect her because she's a champion. So it would work. So that's kind of my prediction. 17 active women, 20 in the match, 1 legend, a returning Nikki Bella, and an NXT woman, whether that be, or Ronda Rousey. So that's how I see it. Who's going to win it? Let's say Ronda Rousey isn't in it. Who wins it? Well, you'd have to say it's probably either going to be Paige or Ruby Riott. Those are the two right now getting pushed the most. And I dare say in the match we'll see Absolution versus the Riot Squad as a bit of a stare down and a confrontation. Those three will take on those three. I probably guarantee that will happen, and that's fine. I think that was a good idea to do. If you can only do it in the Rumble, you may as well just do it. Because who knows how long these groups are going to last for anyways. So I think it's quite possible Paige might win it, and she'll go on to take on the champion, which would be Alexa Bliss. So if you want to do someone different than Alexa Bliss, who, by the way, has been non-existent. Absolution has taken over Raw. Alexa Bliss has done nothing for the last month. So now that she hasn't had to defend her championship on a pay-per-view, they've kind of forgotten about her for a little bit, which is not the worst thing in the world to cool her off for a little bit. But you're kind of wondering what she's doing and why is she not more involved. So if you went with Paige and Alexa Bliss, Bliss would probably have to turn face, which I don't know I don't think that'd be a good idea. I think she's too good of a heel at this point. Now, Paige winning, does she go to SmackDown? I don't know if they'll even have that as a rule or as an opportunity. Don't know if that would be a good idea because then you leave her squad behind. So you probably, if you want to have the SmackDown person win it, I guess Ruby Riott would be the one, and you can set that up that way. But as for other women, you think Nia Jax would be a great chance, but they're just not really doing a lot with her right now. They've got other things for her, like doing a romantic angle with Enzo, so they're not really pushing her as a championship caliber superstar right now. So I don't know. I think it's either going to be one of the leaders of the two groups at this stage. So we'll see. But that's my kind of predictions. I hope they announce a little bit more about it, and I hope we stop saying yay, we're having a Rumble, and start saying, yeah, I want to be in this, and I want to go, and I want to win this title at WrestleMania. I'm going to win this damn thing. Start taking it a bit more seriously. First week, that's fine. We can celebrate that we're doing it. The next few weeks, so let's get a bit more serious, and let's start talking about the whole point of it to get an opportunity at WrestleMania for the championship. Moving along now, other piece of news: Dean Ambrose has suffered an injury. I think it's an elbow or shoulder injury. I didn't double check. I think it's elbow. But regardless, though, he's torn something and he'll be out for 6 months. So most likely will miss WrestleMania, which is really sad. You look at Dean Ambrose, he's been like the workhorse for the last few years. He stayed healthy when everyone else went down. A couple of years ago, everybody was going down injured. Ambrose stayed healthy, was getting great reactions, one of the most popular guys on the roster. They never capitalized on it. They kind of ruined him. The last year, I think, this year for Dean Ambrose has been terrible. I've hated Dean Ambrose this year. The Shield reunion has re-sparked some interest for me in Dean Ambrose, but it's gone now. So it's been a really bad year for Ambrose. A stale character, wacky Dean just isn't interesting. Without the Shield, Ambrose has struggled. He really has. So to me, this could be almost a blessing in disguise for Ambrose. Take some time off, heal up, yes, but potentially come back after WrestleMania, turn him heel, start something fresh for Dean. I don't think he's been a heel since he's ever been outside the Shield. So it'd be something different for him to do and freshen up his character. I believe he would be a far better heel than he is a babyface. Far, far better. So that could be, in the end, probably a good thing for him. Rolling Stone announced that their Wrestler of the Year, they voted The Miz to be the Wrestler of the Year. They said that The Miz has done the best all year round. He's been the best character to watch. It's not a bad shout. The Miz has been very good. He's had another great year. Obviously, last year, he had a great finish to last year. He was terrific on the SmackDown brand. He got moved over to Raw. He kind of struggled a little bit, but he kind of picked it up after a while. The Miztourage was a great idea. That's worked well. It's helped Dallas and Axel just get on TV. His combination with Maurice is still very strong. Obviously, Maurice pregnant right now, so unavailable. But yeah, it's good. Miz has had another great year. Would I say he's been the best wrestler of the year in WWE? I don't think so. I would say Braun Strowman for me. Obviously, I'm a bit biased because I'm a huge Strowman fan, but Strowman's been slowly built up, beating through everybody, and eventually had a killer feud with Roman Reigns. That was awesome. Followed up with a great feud with Brock Lesnar as well, and he's been doing plenty since as well. And I've really enjoyed him. I think he's been fantastic. Obviously, his promos, not great. I guess Miz wins so much on the promo things, but Strowman had some great feats of athleticism for a big man. He's had some, great moments, beating up Lesnar a lot, kind of put him over. Great crowd reactions. People are really starting to get into his character. So for someone whose start of the year was going okay, but ends the year now as a full-fledged main event top guy on Raw, Braun Strowman's had a terrific year. So from mid-card to potential world champion this year, I think 2018 could be Strowman's year to hold the world title. I think Braun Strowman's been my pick to be Wrestler of the Year. Obviously, AJ Styles had a terrific year in terms of match quality and things like that. Definitely AJ was terrific. And Roman Reigns, love him or hate him, Reigns had a really solid year as well. He had a really solid year. So it's been a few guys in WWE that have had a great year. But for me, I look at Strowman where he was to begin the year and where he is now. Big difference, and Strowman's had a terrific year. We'll move along to Raw, and speaking of Strowman, it was announced a triple threat match, Lesnar, Kane, Strowman, for the Royal Rumble. I think we all knew that was coming. But, yeah, look, I don't hate the match. I think it's probably going to be a 7 to 10 minute match. I don't expect it to be long. And I've talked about this on my Total Extreme Wrestling playthroughs when I did my own Royal Rumble on the stream the other day. When it comes to Royal Rumble, you can get away with a bit of a lousy title match on it because the Rumble is what sells the pay-per-view. Now they've got 2 Rumbles this year, so those matches are the key draw. You can get away with a B-rated main world title match. Now, you'd think Royal Rumble, yeah, it's one of the big shows of the year. You want to have a killer world title match. Absolutely, 100% you do. But sometimes you can't. And, you're going to have a lot of the guys locked into the Rumble, potentially becoming, number one contender. So sometimes it just isn't happening. And you have to kind of work with who you've got left. And who they've got left is Strowman and Kane. Strowman's great. I would probably much rather watch Strowman and Lesnar one-on-one again. I think that would be another great match. But yeah, add in Kane. I think they've added in Kane probably to take the pin, and because they've never done Kane and Lesnar, so they feel like there's a little bit there to kind of explore. I don't think there's anything there to do. I mean, Kane kind of botched the F5 a little bit, couldn't get himself, wouldn't let Lesnar get him up. So, Kane, you'd have to think he's on his last run. You'd have to think so. He's having one last strong run before it's over, you would think. But then again, we've been saying that for years, so I don't know. But, yeah, look, I'm not against it. It's going to be, a quick 10-minute match, probably, just going crazy, just go all out, big spots, spear through the barricade, power slam for the table, maybe steal chair shots, maybe go through another regular table. It's just going to be an all-out brawl for 10 minutes, and Lesnar will pick up the win. Probably a typical Lesnar match at the moment when it comes to multi-man. Matt Hardy. Interesting for Matt Hardy this week. Another promo, not so much the back and forth thing they've done with Bray, just Matt Hardy playing chess and talking about the Great War. they've really amped up the Matt Hardy character. He's very wacky. He's really over the top. Now, I know that's what he originally was, but it seems like he's a little bit further, like they've amped it up even more. And to me, I get the impression that Vince McMahon loves Matt Hardy's laugh. You know, the laugh, and then he, you know, continues and just keeps going with it, you know, and just feels uncomfortable and awkward. I get the feeling that Vince loves that because he's been doing it every week, and they've made a real emphasis on it. They even uploaded a video about it on their channel, 10 hours of Matt Hardy's laugh. Seems like they love this laugh, and it's going to be part of his character all the time from now on, with a high emphasis on it. But other than that, look, you know, still early days. I think Matt Hardy needs some people around him eventually to get this more over. So it wouldn't surprise me if they start going in that direction later on. But, you know, I think they probably can just do a feud with Bray Wyatt, have Matt Hardy probably win the feud of the Rumble, and then maybe start to expand the character and incorporate a few more people. Most likely bring back Jeff Hardy and have him involved somehow as well. But so far, it's getting a pass mark, but I want to see, you know, where this is going to go in the future. Hideo Itami made his Raw debut teaming up with Finn Balor. Nothing really to comment, except I thought Itami looked pretty bad. He looked a bit flabby, so that's interesting that he's not quite in the best of shape. Of course, he's competing in the 205 Live, so they wanted to team him up with Finn Balor to give Itami a bit of credibility to begin with, which is fine. Good idea. So, I think Itami just competing against 205 Live guys is a real waste. That's why I hate the fact that they don't do any crossovers. They don't have people from 205 Live competing against other guys. You know, for example, you could have a tag team in 205 Live, the Zoe Train, compete against some of your low-end tag teams on Raw. Compete against Dallas and Axel, you know, guys like that. The Miz Taraz. You know, compete. Mix it up. Have some different opponents instead of seeing the same crop of guys taking each other on every single week. It's probably a big reason why it's not working as well. Another reason I think, you know, they don't do that is because I feel like it's hard to, you know, to kind of believe the cruiserweights who've been categorized as cruiserweights can beat, you know, they're not going to beat a Braun Strowman, for example. They're not going to have them beat these bigger guys. It's kind of hard to kind of believe it. But then again, you know, you've got Finn Balor, who's not the biggest guy, and probably should be in the cruiserweights technically, but he's not. So I don't understand why you have to be a cruiserweight. Why can't you just be someone who qualifies? Yeah, all right, you're under 205 Live, and if you want to compete for the championship, go for it. For example, Finn Balor. If you say, hey, Enzo, you're the champ. I'm under 205 Live. 205. Why don't we compete and go with that? Why do you have to be dead set? All right, you're a cruiserweight. You're on 205 Live. That's it. Can't do anything else. So I think that's an issue that they've got. Rhino and Heath Slater tease maybe doing something different, turning heel, changing things up because of their loss. Interested to see what they do there. I don't think it'll be a turn or anything like that. I just think they'll tweak a few things, maybe try something different. It'll be interesting anyways. I mean, like, a turn wouldn't be the worst thing. Freshen up the characters a bit. The Revival also made the return. Great to see them back. I think they've been missed. I like the Revival. They just had a really bad run of it. Just some bad luck. So hopefully they can sort that out and get themselves healthy and stay on the Panic. And finally, John Cena. He'll be back next week for Monday Night Raw, the Christmas edition of Raw. Obviously, they feel as though the ratings are going to be pretty low for the Christmas edition, so they're trying to bring in Cena to help attendances and ratings. Will it help? I don't know. And look, you know, you think about Christmas, should WWE be doing a live Christmas show? And I guess Christmas now has become very common in sport to play games on. It hasn't happened in Australia yet, but we're kind of thinking about it. Recently, we've been thinking about maybe doing cricket matches on Christmas Day as like a draw, as an appeal, like a special day. And it's been thought about, but the public has kind of been against it. In America, though, it seems like they're okay with it. They see the NBA, they have Christmas matches all the time. I don't know, does the NFL do it? I don't know. NHL, I have no idea. I'm sure they do. So it's more of a common thing in America, so that's why you're probably thinking, well, wrestling on Christmas, is it really that odd? No. Does it suck that these guys had to be away from their families on Christmas? Absolutely. I really believe that everybody should get a week off over Christmas. Sport, wrestling, everything. But unfortunately, just some industries, it doesn't happen. It just keeps on going. There's no time for a week off. But look, it happens, and unfortunately, it's just the way it is. I'm sure WWE probably doing something. I'm sure the Raw roster is having a Christmas there and doing something there, inviting the families. So I'm sure they'll be okay. But so it's becoming more of a common thing in the world where Christmas is no longer that sacred day where the whole world stops, everyone's together, their families. It's now like, okay, the first half of Christmas Day, Christmas morning and Christmas lunch maybe, everything stops. But afterwards, hey, if we want to watch the NBA, let's do it. Let's have a big game of the NBA, the Warriors and the Cavs later on tonight. Because honestly, when you think about it, for me personally, my own personal experience, Christmas is like, all about it. I do Christmas lunch. We don't really do Christmas dinner. Christmas dinner is like leftovers from lunch. But we do everything, and by the time it's probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe at latest 6 o'clock, sometimes we go to the neighbor's house and do something there, or have a barbecue, things like that. But like 6 o'clock at the latest, Christmas is kind of done. We've done everything we're going to do. We kind of, we've had a big day, been cooking all day, whatever. We're kind of done. And it wouldn't be the worst thing to just sit on the couch and flick on and watch a basketball game or a cricket match for me. Things like that. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I'm not against it, but I would like to see these athletes getting to spend time with their families as well. So if you're going to do Christmas as the big day, I think you've got to give them time somewhere else, or somehow give them some time off, because especially with wrestling, they just go all the time. It's ridiculous, their schedules. So it kind of sucks that they can't have that little bit of time away, unfortunately. Moving along now to SmackDown, not a lot to really talk about. Just wanted to kind of touch quickly on a few things. In particular, Shawn Benjamin, Chad Gable. I haven't really talked about them too much as a team. They haven't really had a lot of hype around them. But just been noticing the last couple of weeks, their tag team work's really improved. They're starting to gel together well as a team. Their promos not so much, but Benjamin still looks good. His move where he gets to the top rope quickly. It's not the standing leap that he used to do, but it is still impressive. He's getting up there quickly, showing that he can still go at a high level. So Benjamin's starting to impress me again, and I think he is performing well. He's quite bulked up. He looks good. I think if this tag team doesn't work, I think Benjamin's not a bad idea to explore as giving him a bit of a singles opportunity as that veteran role. But certainly he's done well, and I like that they're pairing this veteran with Chad Gable. It's working. I think the team's working, and they're one of the better teams. They got a victory over the Usos, I believe, so they are giving them that chance and that push, which is great to see. Chad Gable's a great athlete. I love the German suplex that he does, the roll through. It's excellent. Love that. So that team is really starting to do well. And speaking of teams doing well, oh my God, Rusev Day. I mean, Rusev and Aiden English, jeez, did they get some crowd reaction over the weekend. Clash of Champions, they were going nuts for these guys. And now on SmackDown as well. So they're getting popular. They're getting over. They also get a lot of mic time. Aiden English is singing all the time. So the WWE like this team. At least I think they do. They're giving them an opportunity, and they're making it work. I thought Rusev Day initially was a bit silly, but I still think it is, but it's working. Crowd are liking it. Crowd are chanting along. Crowd are giving them reactions. So for the most part, this is working well, and I'd like to see them maybe strike while the fire's got the highest flame. It's doing well. Why not capitalize? It's not a bad idea. So this team's doing well, which is great. So the SmackDown Tag Division is pretty interesting right now, whereas Raw is kind of like, well, Sheamus, Cesaro, Rollins, and Ambrose every week. Nobody else. Revival there now is good, and they might need the Revival there now that Dean Ambrose has gone down, and they'll need to change direction. So, yeah, so SmackDown's Tag Division, that Fatal 4-Way match they did was interesting, and now obviously the Bludgeon Brothers there as well. Won't be long to there in the mix. So I like what we're seeing. I like what we're seeing from the SmackDown Tag Division. And that's really all there is to say about SmackDown, as we kind of covered a little bit earlier, the Clash of Champions as well, with the whole Ziggler thing. Is he going to lose the title? What's going to happen there? It's interesting. But We've got a few questions we want to get into as well before we head out of here, so let's answer them now. Okay, so let's start off our questions here. First up from Ryan Austin. He says, what does wrestling mean to you? That's a question that I've never, ever thought of before. What does wrestling mean to me? Well, I guess the simple answer is wrestling is a terrific form of entertainment. It's just something that, you can watch every single week. Storylines, matches, excitement, interest. I don't know, what wrestling has meant to me has changed throughout the years. Like when I was a kid, I just liked to watch it, thinking it was kind of like more of like a sport type of thing, big characters, these cool badass wrestlers. And then as I've kind of grown up, wrestling is always, the interest of wrestling has now kind of changed to like the business side behind it, how it's all kind of done, who should get pushed, things like that. But also like, how they market it, how they kind of, WWE as a business kind of intrigues me and interests me. The backstage stuff, the stories, how, the relationships that are formed, that type of thing. So wrestling's kind of changed what type of things that I've really enjoyed or like interest me. But wrestling as a whole, I just guess it's just a really awesome form of entertainment. I don't know, it's something I've never really thought of. What does it mean to me? But it does mean a lot. Like wrestling has become a big part of my life. I'm watching it every week. Sometimes nearly every day I've watched some kind of form of wrestling. So it's just something that I can watch, enjoy, and love. I like a lot of other things too. Like wrestling's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's certainly up there. It's certainly something in the last few years has certainly become a thing that is one of my favorite forms of entertainment. Next question, couple here from Thomas Speller. What is your thoughts on the Table for 3 series on the WWE Network? Of course, that did get cancelled. I liked it. I did. I felt as though it was too short. Just 20 minutes, and the conversations were like 3 minutes, and then, they'd switch it. When realistically, I believe they taped for 90 minutes or so. So I would like to see maybe 40 minutes of the conversation, have a little bit more to it. Whereas they just cut it up really quickly. I guess they feel as though their demographic doesn't want to watch long content, which is kind of ironic because their Raw shows are 3 hours long, so realistically they feel like everybody wants more content. But in this instance, they give you less, when you probably want more. So it doesn't kind of work. A 20-minute format where you're having stories and discussions and things like that doesn't really work. So I'm not surprised interest kind of fell off if it did, because they just didn't really produce it properly. But the concept of itself, 3 guys sitting down and just chatting about whatever, is great. And it's always cool to see the legends on chatting about things. But then, like I said, you get very small conversations. And I have stopped watching it. Probably the last one I watched was when Jim Cornette was on it. Thomas Speller also says, do you think it's better to go out on top like Shawn Michaels, or with nothing left like The Undertaker? Yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. I mean, look at Kane. He's a guy who'll go out with nothing left. 5 years ago, you could probably argue he could go out on top, And same with the Big Show, Mark Henry. These guys have gone out kind of losing on their way out for the last few years, putting over the young guys, rather than going out like a Shawn Michaels, being a top guy and retiring as a top guy. Edge didn't really mean to, but he kind of did the same. It happens. Sometimes it happens. It depends on the person. I guess probably Shawn Michaels probably didn't want to stick around for another year and just keep putting everyone over. I'm sure Shawn Michaels probably had enough and said, I'll go out at WrestleMania on my own terms and do what I want. I think he still had a pretty solid year in 2009. So, he kind of went out. He definitely went out on top. Not much better than you can do at WrestleMania. And Undertaker, well, he went out losing the last few years, kind of did the honors a little bit, put over Roman Reigns, and kind of went out with a pretty poor performance. So I guess your lasting legacy is your final match. That's what people are going to look back on, I guess. But, people respect Undertaker. He could have done 3 more matches, and if they were as bad as Roman Reigns' matches, people would still respect the hell out of him and still, appreciate him. But I guess you look at Kane, he stuck around for a little bit too long, and now it's hard to kind of think about how good Kane was back in the early 2000s and in the mid-2000s as well. you kind of think of the recent Kane where he's a bit slowed down, he's just, losing a lot, just not the same. It's hard to kind of think about what he used to be. So in some circumstances, it's great to go out on top, but and it's great that they stick around, but you probably want to have a bit of a mixture of both. You probably want to go out with still some credibility, but also doing the honors and putting a few guys over. But to go out just beating everyone, like Goldberg, for example, he goes out after having a solid run, winning, and then a loss and see you later. That's the type of thing where I don't agree with. I think if you're going to go out, you stay strong, but you go out with a couple losses on your way out type of deal. Which, Shawn Michaels did lose, but he lost to The Undertaker, essentially, which didn't really help. And you look at 2010, somebody could have really used that big win to get them, motoring. And a period of time where WWE really struggled and needed these part-time guys. So Shawn Michaels, I'm sure WWE probably wish they could have got another year out of Shawn Michaels, at least, maybe 2 more. But, he did go out on top. But, look, yeah, it's interesting. You kind of want a mixture of both. Undertaker's legacy is kind of dampened a little bit. But, he's still, at the end of the day, he's the man. Whereas, Big Show, Kane, Henry, for example, they're certainly diminished. Aaron Jordan, have you ever played any of the Doom games? Yeah, I have. Obviously, I've played the classic Doom. I've played through it, beaten the old Doom. Played that a long time ago. I couldn't tell you when, but when I was really young, I did play that back in probably the late 90s, early 2000s on the PC. But then I did pick it up again when they re-released it. I think on the PS3, probably PS3. So I did pick it up again, and I played that. I haven't played a lot of the latest Doom. I do have it. I started playing it, the campaign. I really liked it. Multiplayer, I didn't really care much for the really super fast-paced action. I don't mind it, but it's a bit too frantic for my liking. Quake, for example, is again a game that I think is okay, but in short bursts, I probably wouldn't find myself playing it all the time. But the campaign of Doom, I started playing it, like I said, and I was really enjoying it, but I just, didn't get around to finishing it. It's something that I will do eventually. So I am a fan of Doom to a degree. Never been the biggest fan. It wasn't a game that I kind of grew up with. And, like I said, I wasn't a fan of shooters until about 2009, 2010, when I kind of got into Resistance on the PS3, Killzone, and then moved into Call of Duty, and that's when my love for shooters started to begin with Modern Warfare 2, and I've now gone ahead and played nearly every shooter that comes out now. So the classic old school shooters I didn't really get into too much. So back in the day, Doom not so much my game, but nowadays I'll definitely check it out. I'm sure they'll keep making Doom, but it's never been my favorite series. Cameron Fox, if you could change Bayley's gimmick, what would you change it to? Well, if you're ever going to turn... I guess we're talking if you're going to turn a heel. So if you're ever going to turn a heel... Well, I guess you probably want to make her more, psychotic, obsessive. Maybe, over-obsessive with Sasha Banks, for example. Maybe... I think Bayley could pull off a stalker gimmick, where she kind of just has dolls of Sasha Banks, wants to always hug her, has pictures of Sasha on the wall, she just becomes obsessive with her. That kind of gimmick, I think she could pull that off, and you could run that type of storyline. That's one way to turn her heel, and obviously they've got that friendship on TV. And you could eventually have Bayley keep on losing, and Sasha Banks reaches to the top. Sasha gets all this praise. It's all about Sasha. And then Bayley kind of gets left behind a little bit. So Bayley's trying to, be her friend, be her sidekick. But Sasha's doing so many other bigger and better things that she hasn't got time for Bayley anymore. So Bayley kind of starts, stalking her, or, eventually snaps on her and betrays her for not, being the friend that she needed or whatever. You could kind of go in that direction, that obsessive type person. So, there's other ways, but that's probably the top of my head. That's kind of what I would think about, and a storyline that I would probably go with if you ever wanted to turn her, which I think you probably can, and they probably will need to at one point. She's going nowhere right now. And the final question's from WWE Fan. And of course, if you do want to leave a question probably not. Next week we won't be having a show, more than likely, but just in case, if you have a question, let me know in the comment section down below. Leave your question there, And if we do have a show, I'll put a post up on my Facebook page as well, just in case. But more than likely, we probably won't have a show. And if we do have a show, I mean, wrestling next week probably won't be very exciting anyway, so probably for the best. But final question comes from, what do you think of how, from WWE fans, the final question comes from WWE fans, sorry. What do you think of how WWE are booking Roman Reigns' character at the moment? I like it. Roman Reigns has been good for the last few months. Pairing him with the Shield has been a good idea. It's helped get rid of that heat from him for a little bit. Now he's going to go back to being, the dominant, strong Reigns, beating everybody, IC champion, that type of Roman Reigns, which is okay, that's fine. So that's probably where we're headed. But for the most part, I've enjoyed Roman Reigns, and I've never been a hater of his. For the last number of years, ever since everyone's always been hating on the guy, I've always remained pretty neutral. Not the biggest fan of him. I've liked him to a degree. The last couple of years, I haven't liked him so much. Like, he's not my favorite, but I don't dislike him. I would never boo him. I would never, write paragraphs online, send out angry tweets about him. No, because I don't hate him. Like, I don't see the hate for him. Yes, he's overpushed, but I mean, Jason Jordan's overpushed right now. People get overpushed. Jinder Mahal gets overpushed. At least I can respect Roman Reigns. His in-ring work has improved quite a lot. He's having good matches. He delivers in big match situations. Promos, passable. They don't have him talk too much, and when he does, it's okay. So there's nothing really to hate about him at the moment. And people may hate on me for saying that, but for me personally, there's nothing to really hate about Roman Reigns. I'd rather hate on someone like Jinder Mahal, who I just find zero enjoyment out of at all. Someone who I don't think deserves his spot and probably won't have it anymore. Or a Baron Corbin, again, another guy, who hasn't had a single good match ever. So I'd rather hate on those types of guys, focus my time and energy on guys who generally probably deserve it. Whereas Reigns, yes, he's overpushed, not his fault, but at least I think now, it's taken him a while, but I think now that investment is paying off and he's starting to deliver more. So yeah, it's going to be Reigns and Lesnar at WrestleMania, more than likely, which probably will, not be the most exciting match for most fans, but I'm sure it'll be okay, and Reigns will deliver, and Reigns gets those big opportunities, but, who else would you put in that situation? Who else kind of deserves it? I don't know. There's a few guys, yes, but Reigns, like it or hate it, is one of their top guys, and he's deserved that spot. He's done enough to keep it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. Like I said, probably won't be here next week, but the week after, for the New Year's, we'll be there. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So I hope you enjoyed this edition. If you did, smash the like button for me. More likes, the more I know that you enjoy the show. And like I said, any feedback, talk about anything that we talk about in today's show. Predictions, who do you think is going to win the Women's Royal Rumble? Things like that. Let me know in the comments down below. And also check out the website, brendanplace.com. And you can also go on the forums there and join up for free, brendanplace.com/forums, and continue the wrestling discussion there. Best place to do it is on our forums. And of course, our Discord chat there as well. You can join up through the forums. And check us out on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Other ways to watch and listen to the show. Check that out. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Whatever you want to say it. I say Merry Christmas, but, politically correct, I guess, now is Happy Holidays. But I hope you all have a great time. Hope you have a great time with your family. Hope Santa's kind to you. And enjoy Christmas lunch, because that's the best thing about Christmas these days. The great roast pork. Ugh. You gotta love it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the podcast in a couple weeks' time.